Evil Morty has been one of the most important and interesting characters in the series. He single-handedly saves the show whenever he appears in the episode. A lot of things about him, including his backstory, are unknown to us. But I don't want to talk about that today since I think it deserves its own video. But I do want to talk about where he went, when will he return, and I want to explain the central finite curve in greater detail since a lot of people found it hard to understand. Without any further ado, I hope you all have a great day. Let's start the video. Evil Morty made his debut in the 10th episode of the first season. Ever since his debut, he has been the most intriguing character in the whole show. A lot of us expect him to appear in an episode, and wherever he goes, the hype is always at its greatest, and he always steals the show. The last time when we saw him was in the final episode of the 5th season. That episode was wild. It delivered on nearly everything we've been asking for, from Rick's true origin to the culmination of Evil Morty's grand plan. In many ways, the Rick and Morty Season 5 finale is exactly what we have all been wanting for a long time. Concrete explanation for Rick's past and the nature of his universe, and a proper conclusion to the Evil Morty arc. At the end of that episode, Evil Morty activates his dimensional drive protocol, powering it with the blood of Operation Phoenix clones to create an opening in the central finite curve. The Citadel starts to break apart, and Evil Morty offers Morty a chance to escape with him. Rick tells Morty it's a better deal than staying, but Morty chooses to remain with Rick. It is soon revealed that Evil Morty anticipated this and revealed the only thing on the ship besides the seat is a toilet. As Rick and Morty flee the chamber together, Evil Morty gets into his small spaceship. He flies through the opening in the central finite curve and uses his own portal gun, one filled with a unique golden fluid. What is the central finite curve? Well, a model often used to explain it is that the definition of the central finite curve has no set parameters, it's just wholly random and infinite, and therefore can be represented as a repeating, immeasurable shape model with a circle. The central finite curve would then present a finite collection of dimensions, or infinite when there are multiple circles. Frequency of Ricks rank each other in terms of Rickness and number of iterations of himself from one undefined point. A much simpler model based on the information given in the comic, which has questionable canonicity, is that it is a simple categorization of a universe having a Rick and working ecosystem. This contradicts the information given in the show, as simple Rick is stated to be 16 iterations off it despite fulfilling both criteria. It's unclear what's on the other side of the portal Evil Morty fires, but it could be one of any infinite possibilities. Before breaking out of the central finite curve, the only dimensions accessible to Rick's and Morty's were those in which Rick was the smartest and the most powerful person. Those realities were still infinite, but they were a smaller subset of infinity than that outside of the curve. So where does Evil Morty end up? He goes to the other side, to dimensions where Rick is unremarkable, or where he can't escape his many mistakes, or where he was never born. The golden portal represents access to truly infinite dimensions, whereas Rick's green portals only travel to those within the central finite curve. Interestingly enough, at the end of the 3rd chapter of the Rick and Morty comics, something very interesting happens. We have introduced a super smart version of Morty who is called Genius Morty. He was an extremely smart teenager living at home with his alcoholic idiot grandfather Rick, whom he would constantly make fun of for being less intelligent. He was smart enough to be a part of the Council of Mortys, who he was on good terms with. One day, he woke his Rick up from a dream where their level of intelligence were switched. Morty mocked this idea before telling him to join him in the garage and complaining about how slow he was once he got there. He told Rick to hand him a screwdriver before continuing to mock the idea of a brilliant scientist, Rick, which led Rick to get rid of him. That accident was witnessed by Rick and Morty from dimension C-132. Unfortunately, I can't show you that scene because of YouTube policies, but trust me, it was pretty brutal. This 4-page long scene was very interesting for numerous reasons. Firstly, we are introduced to a whole new universe, which is exactly the opposite of the central finite curve. In that universe, Rick is Morty and Morty is Rick. Secondly, a portal that was used by Rick C-132 was different than anything we have seen. It was purple instead of the usual green. The fact that they used a different portal to the usual green one, and also how the entire universe is constructed, making Morty the Rick of it, makes me think that such universe obviously exists outside of the central finite curve. I think it would be somewhat interesting if Evil Morty went to that dimension and tried gathering all the smart Mortys against Rick's, but when you think about it, it doesn't really make sense for him to do so since he has already destroyed all the Ricks and the whole central finite curve in general. But on the other hand, he failed to destroy the most influential Ricks, which includes Rick C-137, Rick Prime, a couple of supposedly influential Ricks from a red string conspiracy board of numerous Ricks around a tapestry of what could become the Citadel of Rick's insignia, and also one mysterious Rick who told journalist Morty the truth about Evil Morty Morty? Who was he? How did he know about Morty's backstory? I hope he and the other Ricks get the screen time they deserve, but I don't know, to me it looks like he's finished his feud with the Ricks and will try to enjoy his living without them as much as possible, but I feel like his story definitely hasn't ended and he will make a comeback in the series. But when will Evil Morty return? Well, Dan Harmon, the creator of the series, also hyped his return. "You will definitely be seeing him again," Harmon said of Evil Morty after discussing the Season 6 premiere with Variety. He added that fans might have to wait a while, saying, "I caution that we may not be seeing him soon. He's an easy guy to forget about because he kind of took care of himself." Discussing the return of Evil Morty in future seasons of the show, Harmon added, "He just wanted to get beyond the central finite curve, but we've written Season 7 and we're working on Season 8 right now. That's the only way for us to be able to stay on schedule, so I can say with 100% certainty that Evil Morty is coming back, but I can't give a schedule on that. Based on that, we can pretty much say that his return is inevitable, which should not be surprising for anyone. Despite him fulfilling his goal, there is still so much about the character that we don't know of. I think it would be funny if Rick pulled him back to his original dimension in the series pilot. Not sure why that pulse wouldn't have affected him while affecting everyone else across dimensions, but I guess being outside the central finite curve may have stopped him from being pulled back to his original dimension. We don't know this, but I think it wouldn't really make sense to make him return to the central finite curve again after only just escaping it. It would ruin the show for me. But when and how will he return? Well, there is a slight, not much, but a slight chance that he may reunite with Rick C-137 against Rick Prime, after both of them realize that he is the reason why both of their lives are the way they are. Because when you think about it, that really is the case. Rick C-137's life was directly affected by him since he was the one who killed his family, and after doing that, Rick C-137 created the Citadel, which made life hell for Evil Morty. After Evil Morty sees how much Rick cares about his family, I feel like he will consider Rick C-137 as an exception and will decide to help him to get eternal peace with himself after dealing with Rick Prime. That would be an amazing moment for both Rick and Evil Morty. Them getting help from each other would be exactly what their characters used to be against. Right now, I can't think of any other reason why they would team up. If you have any other idea on how or why Evil Morty would return in the show, let me know in the comments. Anyway, I guess this is all for today. What do you think? Where did Evil Morty go? When will he return and what will be his purpose after the comeback? Let me know in the comments, like this video, and subscribe to the channel for more. Lonnie Brooks out. Bye.